Alright, so I'm going to show you how to make a grid in your sketchbook for reproducing and enlarging an image. Now, generally you would need to go ahead and find your image, see how what the dimensions of it are, but for the project we're going to be doing, since we're going to be doing them in our sketchbook, all of our grids should be the same size. So I can help you edit grid sizes later on. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to be making a 3-inch grid in your sketchbook. So you're going to take a ruler and you're going to try to get it as close to the edge of the paper as possible. Now you can see I'm kind of going right up to the where the perforation of the paper is, and I'm just going to go ahead and make a mark every 3 inches. And I don't need to make one at the 1 or the 12. Now, this shouldn't be as tricky in your sketchbook since your paper is going to be pretty square, but I'm going to slide the ruler down, and generally with the ruler you're not going to have this side sticking out, but I don't really think that's going to mess us up very much, because you want to make sure that if you start your measurements from one side, you want to start them at the same side down at the bottom. Now, since our stuff's pretty square, we don't really have to worry about that. So we're going to make a mark at the 9, the 6, and the 3. And then we're going to do the same thing across the top. So even though this is it'd probably help if I had a regular ruler handy, but I'm just going to use this one. So even though this is going to be 9 inches, we're still going to be making our marks every 3 inches, which would be at the 3 and the 6. And same thing down at the bottom. So 3 and 6. Now, most things that we do are not going to be quite this technical, but when you're using the grid method, it's all about scale and proportion. So making sure that all your boxes are square is pretty much why the grid method is successful. And we'll look at some examples of that. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take your ruler and you're going to carefully line up your 2 marks and connect. And you don't want these lines to be super dark because you will erase them after you're done transferring your image over. Now, one thing I do want to point out as I'm finishing this up is I want you to notice that whenever I did make my marks, I made them really short and as close to the ruler as possible, because let's just say if I went back in and I made my mark like this, kind of where it's sort of at an angle, it did line up with the 9 at some point, but then I just sort of flicked my pencil around. Well, good and lined up over here, but then if I come over here, it's going to mess up how square it is. And you can even tell there that even though that's just a little bit off, it's going to make a big difference in keeping your proportion in your scale what you want them to be. So that's why I made those really short marks. And you do have to do it on all 4 sides. Don't just try to guess on 2 of the sides because you did measurements on 2 of them. And there you go. So we have a 3-inch grid, and it looks a little off just because the perforation of the paper is right here, but we can color that in if you so desired. So now this should match up with your picture, which should be 3 by 4 squares.